It has been 2 years since Blade defeated the Blood God and Whistler disappeared without a trace. As it turned out, Whistler didn't actually die. He was captured by vampires and kept submerged in a blood tank. During these 2 years, Blade fought his way from Moscow to Romania. Finally, in a small town, he managed to extract the whereabouts of Whistler through interrogation. At this point, Whistler was tortured and barely alive. Facing Whistler, who could turn into a vampire at any moment, Blade couldn't bring himself to harm him. After all, he already saw Whistler as a father. With the attitude of giving it a try, the Blade Runner injected Whistler with an accelerated antidote serum that brought him back to normal. During the time Whistler was missing, Blade brought in Scud as his mechanic. However, Whistler didn't like him. They are all weapon craftsmen and they all have a dislike for each other. Just as they were arguing, Scud's security system suddenly sent out an intruder alert. The target's body temperature was only 10 degrees Celsius and it could be concluded that it was vampire. The coming is not good. They move quickly in their movements. Countless vampires have died at the hands of the Blade. As most vampires were no match for him, it was clear that the vampires had come prepared. They were not only formidable in combat but also equipped with impervious armor. Not even the UV lights on the base can do anything about it. They fought the Blade to a standstill. One of the vampires called a halt and it turned out that they had come to make peace and seek cooperation. The man's name was Assad. The beautiful woman accompanying him was Nyssa, the daughter of vampire elder Damaskinos. Blade was confident in his abilities and agreed to their request. The group traveled to the vampire headquarters by helicopter. Damaskinos explained to Blade that they had called him here because a mutation had occurred among the vampires. They called it the Reaper. This creature had an unusually strong craving for blood. It not only fed on human blood but also consumed vampires. What was even more terrifying was that those bitten by the Reaper wouldn't die but would mutate into Reapers themselves, causing the infection to rapidly spread. Meanwhile, a terrifying incident was unfolding. Late at night, a man entered the underground blood bank and was immediately taken control of by a vampire. The sharp fangs of the staff indicated that they were all vampires. The blood extraction tools they used were excessively brutal. Yet, the man showed no fear. On the contrary, he smiled. It turned out he was the legendary Reaper, Nomak. In an instant, all the vampires in the room were bitten and turned into Nomak's minions. To assist Blade, Damaskinos handed over his most elite special forces team under Blade's command.
Blade.
Reinhardt expressed his discontent through his nose, mocking Blade. Blade's temper flared up, and he swiftly dealt Reinhardt a gift by implanting an explosive device in his head. After reaching an agreement, Whistler and Scud distributed the team members their equipment. In this way, a powerful team of vampire exterminators was formed. They targeted the vampire stronghold, splitting into 3 groups to search for the Reaper's whereabouts, while Whistler and Scud covered the perimeter. As expected, the Reapers had already infiltrated a club unnoticed. Suddenly, Nomak appeared next to Nyssa. Blade intervened just in time, shooting Nomak in the head. Strangely, the Nomak were not afraid of pure silver, which was a fundamental difference from regular vampires. The situation for the other team members wasn't any better. Even heavy gunfire couldn't harm the Reapers. On the contrary, the vampires at the scene suffered. Reaper is even scarier than expected, and the sterling silver bullets do not work at all. Not even the Yeti's duel of force could do any damage. Even when their necks were broken by blunt objects, the Reapers would quickly regenerate. What was even more astonishing was that the mouths of these Reapers would split open exceptionally wide. Priest was taken by surprise and was not only scratched on the back but also bitten on the neck. Meanwhile, Scud, on the outskirts, was surrounded by Reapers. He ran out of bullets and, in desperation, rammed a vehicle into them before activating the UV lights. The Reapers instantly turned to ashes. It turned out that sunlight was their weakness. Upon receiving this information, Reinhardt activated the UV lights on his weapons, successfully annihilating a large number of Reapers inside the building. During the fight with Nomak, Blade discovers that the anticoagulant serum, which works wonders on vampires, has also lost its effect at this point. Blade had never faced such a formidable opponent before. Under Nomak's fierce assault, Blade found himself at a disadvantage. Just then, a ray of sunlight shone in. Nomak was in agony, unable to withstand the bright light, and fled. However, the member who was bitten had mutated, and even cutting off half his head could not kill him. Finally, the Blade sent him away with sunlight. Meanwhile, Whistler discovered a trapped Reaper at the entrance of the sewer. Due to genetic mutations, if Reapers didn't consume blood for a prolonged period, they would die. During the dissection, they were surprised to find that the body of the Reaper was distinctly different from that of a normal vampire. Their hearts were enveloped in hardened bones, making them difficult to destroy. What was even more horrifying was that, even though Reapers were brain dead, their bodies could still feed independently upon encountering fresh blood. After studying for a while, Blade came to a conclusion: sunlight was the Reaper's only weakness. To this end, Whistler and Scud joined forces to create UV grenades and equip the team with anti-UV combat suits and a pile of state-of-the-art weapons. After daybreak, the team, fully equipped, infiltrated the sewers where the Reapers were hiding. The tunnels inside were intricate, and Blade divided the team into 3 groups. Snowman and Lighthammer Verlaine formed one group. However, Snowman was unaware that Lighthammer had already been bitten and had quietly started to mutate. Before Snowman could realize what was happening, he was ambushed. Verlaine was drawn to sound and witnessed a horrifying scene. Lighthammer redirected his attack target, and Verlaine, upon seeing her lover in that state, made a resolute decision. She opened the well cover and chose to be exposed to the sun with Letterman. On the other side of the tunnel, human bones piled up like mountains. Reapers hiding in the water emerged and launched an attack. Blade ordered Nyssa to find a safe place to hide. With a 10-second countdown, the UV grenades released a tremendous burst of energy. Wherever the light reached, the Reapers quickly turned to dust. The team led by Reinhardt suffered heavy casualties. Countless Reapers surrounded them, and their annihilation seemed only a matter of time. Blade ordered Reinhardt and Nyssa to retreat while he faced the vampires alone. Armed with dual pistols, with the detonation of a box of UV grenades, a powerful light wave filled the tunnel. Countless Reapers were eradicated. Have to say, the Blade's ability to not be afraid of the sun's rays is simply bug. The explosion just left Nyssa badly burned. Blade, seeing her condition, cut open his palm and used his blood to save her life. The battle is over. Nomak suddenly appeared. Strangely, Nomak didn't harm Whistler. Instead, he handed him a ring. On the other side, Blade was caught off guard as a vampire squad appeared and electrocuted him. It turned out that everything from the beginning was a trap. After years of research, Damaskinos discovered that only DNA recombination could create a new breed of vampire that was immune to pure silver weapons and sunlight. In fact, Reaper Nomak was Damaskinos' son, and the family ring was the strongest evidence of their relationship. However, Damaskinos saw his son as a failed experiment and had lost control over him. The reason he sought Blade's help was twofold: to eliminate the Reapers and capture Blade to uncover the secrets of the Daywalker and eliminate the fatal weaknesses of vampires. With the situation at its peak, Blade tried to detonate the bomb implanted in Reinhardt's head but found no response. Scud, on the other hand, laughed, and it turned out that he was also a vampire servant. However, Blade had already figured out that there was something wrong with Scud, so he reworked the remote control and Scud was blown to bits. Blade couldn't escape the fate of being studied. Vampire pierced his body with sharp steel spikes, preparing to extract his blood for analysis. Suddenly, the plot took a twist. Nomak, who had been following Blade and the others, had found his way there seeking revenge against his father, who both created and sought to destroy him. The enraged Nomak was unstoppable, as his mutated body was completely immune to bullet shots. All vampires standing in Nomak's way were swiftly eliminated. Realizing the impending danger, Damaskinos hurriedly took Nyssa with him into an elevator. Taking advantage of the chaos, Whistler quietly sneaked into the laboratory. Blade's blood was once again drained, and he desperately needed a large amount of fresh blood to replenish himself. Blade falls hard into the pool of blood against Reinhardt's bullets. Nourished by the blood, the Bladesman comes back to life again. Reinhardt, still unaware of the severity of the situation, attempted to attack Blade with his knife. However, Blade swiftly cut Reinhardt in half. Wearing his sunglasses, Blade finally regained his full power. Under Whistler's fire, the vampire's genetic modification program was declared a complete failure. After these events, Nyssa was greatly disappointed in her father. She directly closed the door to the rooftop. Blade had saved Vanessa's life twice before, but her father tried to kill him. Damaskinos even sacrificed the lives of his children to achieve his ulterior motives, and in the end Nomak killed him. Nyssa, who thought Blade had been killed, was so desperate that she asked her brother to end her life. Just then, Blade arrived. He leaped down from above and struck Nomak with a blade. However, Nomak's heart, encased in a layer of hardened bone, wasn't pierced deeply. Instead, Nomak forcefully broke the blade. Even in his full-blooded state, Blade was momentarily knocked down by Nomak's fierce attacks. However, Blade happened to spot the broken blade on the ground. As Nomak opened his mouth wide, the Bladezinger seized the opportunity and stabbed him through the heart from the side. Nomak finally tasted heartache, and death was the best relief for him. Nyssa didn't want to become a heartless reaper like her brother. As a natural-born vampire, she had never witnessed a sunrise. To fulfill her wish, Blade took Nyssa outside to witness the dawn's first light. Watching the sunrise with a loved one has proven to be a truly beautiful experience. Perhaps, even if it happened only once in a lifetime, it was the perfect ending for Nyssa.